Good morning, everyone. So we continue with our sixth lesson, network services, directory services, and remote access. So we had started with remote access in the last week. So we had seen that remote access provides us to access the system or other user system even if we are not physically present there. We had seen that what is PSTN, public switch telephone network, also called as plain old telephone system, which uses a phone connection to provide an internet connectivity. So it uses a twisted pair connection rather than using coaxial cable or the fiber optic connection. Then we had seen that the name of the connector which is used to connect your modem devices and the telephone was RJ11. The speed provided by all the other network connectivity and of PSTN is it provides little less speed as compared to other services like ISDN and DSL. So the speed by PSTN is only 33.6 kbps and it uses a networking device which is modem. Then we had seen what is ISDN, Integrated Service Digital Network. This also provides an internet connectivity. That means it allows us to transfer not only the digital data but also the analog signals. And it uses two channels, or we can say there are two types of ISDN: the basic rate interface and the primary rate interface. Both of them have total three channels, out of which the number sorry, your BRI has three channels, out of which two channels are used for transferring the data and one is used for making the setup of the connection. So we also call it as 2B plus D. Then when I talk about PRI, it has total 23 channels, out of which the 22 channels are used for sending your voice and digital data, and one channel is used for maintaining the setup. So the speed of PRI is greater than that of the speed of BRI. ISDN is anytime better as compared to your PSTN in terms of speed. Then we had also seen a DSL, that is digital subscriber line. Again, this is also used for transmitting your voice and data, but it uses two different channel frequency. The lower band is used for transmitting voice and higher band is used for transmitting the digital data. So this division of the frequency is done in order to avoid the crosstalk and miscommunication of any data which is transmitted from one end to another end. Then we had seen the different types of DSL: symmetrical, asymmetrical, very high speed DSL. All of them are different in terms of the speed with respect to uploading and downloading. Then we had seen some threats to the computer system. The first of the threat was virus. So it is a code that keeps on replicating or keeps on copying itself from one program to another program. So, but it requires a human intervention. Whereas if it is worm, the worm does not require any human intervention. Without a human intervention, also it can spread the malicious code or some kind of software code into your computer system. Then we had seen different types of viruses: the file infector virus, macro virus, resident virus, system or boot record infector. Then we had also seen what is dormant. Dormant is nothing but the logic bombs which keep on sleeping for many of the time, but they get activated only when that particular time comes or when that particular date comes. Therefore, they are considered to be, or they are called to be, as dormant. Then we had seen how to prevent from virus. We have to keep our system updated. We should regularly take the backup. So even if we do not have any kind of antiviruses and if our data is lost, we can always restore our data. Then we should have antiviruses updated or antiviruses installed in our system. We should avoid going to the sites which are suspicious. We should always scan before we download any kind of email attachments. Then we had seen what is worm. It is a self-replicating program which does not require any human intervention or which does not require any human assistant. Without the effort of a human, it can easily spread inside the computer system. Then we had seen what is spyware. It keeps on recording all the information which a user does, and all these information is later being captured or later being used in order to attack the system or attack or make a user as a victim. Then we had seen what is ransomware. That means I have already attacked the computer system and now I will be asking for any ransom money in order to give that data back to the user. Okay. Then we had seen what is key loggers. That is, every key which a user inputs, every detail of that key is being captured inside the circuit, and later that key is used in to affect the system or affect the data of the system. So we had seen that it is generally used in the ATM. So by using that pin which a user inputs, I can use my card, put that key or use that key in order to withdraw the money. Then we had seen that what is Trojan horse. Again, it is a malicious software program which hides inside the other program, and whenever that program starts, it directly affects the operating system of the computer. So today we'll be seeing what is VPN, that is virtual private network. Now, as the name says, VPN, it is a private network. Okay, private network means it has to be more secured as compared to whatever other network connectivities we had seen. So let it be a point-to-point connection, or we have seen ISDN, DSL, remote access, whatever it is. All those are little less secured as compared to that of your VPN. So your, as the name says, virtual private network, it is a network which is more private between the computers or between the users which are there on the network. Okay, so it is a connection on the internet or connection to an internet which is encrypted in a form of a tunnel, and that means a tunnel is being created, and through that tunnel private data is being communicated online from one user to another user. When I say a private data is communicated, that means it can be any data which is made private by using that VPN network. So it takes care that whatever data is being transmitted from both the ends, it has to be more secured, even if it has been attacked by any kind of a attacker. So even if the attacker has attacked the tunnel or has attacked a private network, even if that attacker has attacked, it won't be able to extract the data. Why it won't be able to extract the data? Because it is being prevented, or it is being protected by using a kind of an encryption. That is a function of your VPN. So encrypted connection, it is an encrypted connection over an internet from a device to a network. So for whatever devices are there on the network, all those devices will be having a connection which is encrypted. That means it would be encrypted by using some algorithms, and that encryption will be so high that even if it is attacked by any of the attacker will never be able to retrieve the original data. So we say that a sensitive data which is being transmitted between the two devices is safely transmitted. Why safely transmitted? Because it is said that it is an encrypted connection. It prevents an unauthorized people from eavesdropping on the traffic and allows a user to conduct a work remotely. Now, what is this? It prevents the unauthorized people from eavesdropping. Unauthorized people means attacker. So it prevents the attacker from eavesdropping, means from checking the traffic or from checking the network or the data which is getting communicated from the two devices in the network. So when I create a tunnel, I see to it that the tunnel is so safe that any of the unauthorized people or any of the attacker will never be able to enter into that particular tunnel. That is what is called as eavesdropping. Eavesdropping means it is so secure that even if an attacker is going to try to enter or to even check what is happening on that network, he won't be able to see the data, or he won't be able to enter even the network. A virtual private network is a connection method which is used to add a security and privacy to private and a public network like Wi-Fi hotspot and internet. So what is happening? This method is used for providing a security and a privacy to the data. Let it be any type of a network, a private network or a public network, or if you are using some Wi-Fi hotspot or a normal cable for internet connectivity. So you use any connectivity method. All the connectivity method will be ensuring you, if you're connected to a VPN, it will ensure you that whatever data is transmitted will be safely transmitted because it is in the encrypted format. So it is not necessary that if you're having a Wi-Fi, then only you can use VPN. If you have your internet cable, you can use VPN also. So it is, let it be any public or a private network. Once if you have installed this VPN or if you have started using the VPN, any communication that happens will always be secure. So the privacy is increased in the virtual private network. Why the privacy is increased? Because it hides the IP address and it makes your browsing more private. So if I'm accessing some content on the internet, or if I've requested for any content on the internet, my IP address will always always will be hidden. Why it will be hidden? Because it is making my system connected to a virtual network first, that is a virtual private network, and then my request is forwarded from the virtual private network. So my IP address will never be known to a requesting devices or to a response device who's going to send me the data back, that particular device will never be able to know my IP address. So it is secured because it is hiding my IP address on the network. Okay. Now, many a times you might have observed that many of the websites are being restricted or they are being blocked. But if I make use of this virtual private network, it unlocks all the blocked website also. So if I want to access some contents from the restricted websites, I can use this virtual private network and access those particular websites, which is not possible from your normal network connectivity. So if you have a VPN, you can make such blocked website also unblocked. So that is the two advantages of using your VPN. First is it hides your IP address on the network, and second, whichever websites are blocked, जो भी website आप access नहीं कर सकते हो, that you can access now by making use of a virtual private network. Okay. Now, how does this VPN work? What is happening whenever you are connecting with your computer, you are getting connected to a VPN. So if I am a sending machine, or if I want to get connected to a VPN, or if I want to use this VPN, what will I do? Whenever I connect to a network, what is happening? My computer is also getting connected to a VPN. What does this do is it will make my computer behave as if I am on a same network where the VPN is. Whereas I am on some another network and VPN is on some another network. But since I am connected to a VPN, so what is happening is I am assuming that I am also connected to a same network where the VPN is connected. But we both are at the separate network connectivity. That means I am also connected on some another network. VPN is also connected on some another network. But it is shown to a user as if I am directly connected to a VPN. So what is happening? Whatever network traffic which is going from my end to the network is not going directly, but it will now be transmitted via the VPN. Why it will be transmitted via the VPN? Because I am getting connected to the virtual private network. Whatever request I am sending will not be gone directly from the network which I am connected, but it will be passed through the network where the VPN is connected. Okay, so if I am connected to a network 1, and if VPN is on network 2, and if there is a one more machine called as XYZ which is on same network 1. So if my machine ABC is getting or is requesting to a machine XYZ, though we both are on the same network, my request will not pass via network 1, but it will be passed via network 2. Why? Because I have made a connection with a virtual private network. Why? Because I want that data which is getting transmitted from my machine to that XYZ machine should be secured. Along with that, secure means it should be encrypted. Second, no attacker should attack that. Third, it should hide all my IP address details. So to get all these three things done, I am not putting my data on network 1, but I am sending my data through a virtual private network which is on the network 2. Okay. So what is happening? All my network traffics are getting transmitted or are getting diverted from a network 1 to a network 2. Okay. So it is assumed to the user that assumed to a user means it is assumed to me that I am on a network 1, but whereas what is happening, as soon as a request has been gone from my machine, it has been diverted from network 1 to a network 2. So this is not being understood by the user or by the person who has requested, but it happens if you are making a connection through a virtual private network. Okay, so because of this, what is happening? All the traffic is getting encrypted. All the traffic is getting encrypted means whatever data I'm going to send over my network will now be encrypted from my device to the destination device to which I want to send the data, and whatever data I transmit will also remain private between me and the machine who is going to receive. Okay, so whenever what happens is, for example, if I want to browse a particular website, so I am connected to a particular VPN which is on network 2. So what will happen? My computer will contact a website. That means if I am requesting for google.com, so if I want to browse this google.com, what is happening? I am connected to a VPN. So what will my computer do? My computer will contact a website through this encrypted VPN connection. So my request, instead of going on network 1, the www.google.com will now be diverted to a VPN which is on network 2. It will encrypt this request and then it will be forwarding to the google.com. Whatever google.com replies, again that reply will not come directly to me, but it will be coming via the virtual private network which I have created. Okay, so many a times if if I am at some outstation, or if I am at some location where I'm not able to get my normal connectivity through an internet, and if I work in a company which provides me this VPN connectivity, so what do is I use that VPN connectivity in order to transmit and receive the data. Okay, so if suppose if I stay in US and I do not have a good network connectivity, or if I want to refer to some sites which only belong to India, so what do I do? But if my company is providing me with a VPN connection, so I will use that VPN connection to access the websites or the files and the folders which are located in the in India. Okay, so which was not possible through an outside public network of USA is now possible through my company's virtual private network. Okay, is this understood? What is VPN and how does it work? Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, when I use this network, a network has certain protocols. Okay, what are those protocols? First is PPTP. Okay, this PPTP. What does that mean? It is a point-to-point tunneling protocol. Okay, then I have IPsec. What is that IPsec? Internet Protocol Security. Third, I have remote access VPN, RAVPN, that is remote access VPN. Then I have VPN routers, and last I have firewall based VPN. Okay, so these are the different protocols which are used by your VPN network. So let us see first one, which is point to point tunneling protocol. Now we already know what is point to point connection. What is that point to point connection? It is used to directly connect one system to another system and provide a direct internet connectivity or direct exchange of data between those two systems. But it operates at a data link layer, so every data is converted from a packet into a frames, and then those frames are transmitted. Okay, and it provides you authentication, security, everything. That is what we had learned in point to point protocol. Now, since it is a part of a VPN and VPN makes use of those tunnel to transmit the data, therefore what is this point to point tunneling protocol? It is same, two devices are connected directly from one end to another end, and a tunnel is created directly between those two devices, and the function of that tunnel here is to provide a secured communication or a encrypted communication between these two devices. Okay, what was happening in the previous example which I showed you? I had two networks, network 1 and network 2. I was connected directly to computer 1 was connected to a computer 2 on a network 1. But when a computer 1 and 2 were communicating, they were also connected to a network 2, and on network 2 I had a virtual private network. Okay, so my secure communication was via network 2 but not via network 1. But what is happening in tunneling protocol? In this point-to-point tunneling protocol, I have only one network, and on that network, I have created a VPN. That means I have created a tunnel, and now I'm going to use the same network for providing a complete encrypted data transmission from both the machines. Okay. But what was happening here is, since I was using only one network and I was securing that network through this VPN, the security was little less, or the security could be easily broken by the attacker. Therefore, we stopped using this point-to-point tunneling protocol and started using the other protocols. So you might have heard of Windows version Windows 95. So up till Windows 95 only, or Windows 95 operating system was only supporting this point-to-point tunneling protocol. But since the attacker became used to this network and they could find out how to attack this secured data, therefore it was stopped using from Windows 95, and later versions were using either IP security or remote access or some other kind of protocol. Okay, so the only disadvantage of point to point is that the security was less as compared to any other protocols that we are going to see, but it was faster. Why it was faster? Because it was only on one network and directly from one system to another system. Even the setup and the installation was also easy, but only because of that security measure, or only because of that security issue, and since the attacker were able to play with that security, therefore we stopped using point to point tunneling protocol. Okay, so it used to provide heavy encryption, but that heavy encryption was hacked by those attackers. Therefore we stopped using that point to point tunneling protocol. So what does it do is, it creates a tunnel and it encrypts the data and uses a direct point to point connection or a point to point communication for transmitting that encrypted data. So that is a function of your point to point tunneling protocol. So a tunnel is created on the same network and not on the another network. Now next was IPsec or internet protocol security. Now, what is this internet protocol security? It is a set of the protocol that provides a security for an internet protocol, or it uses an cryptography to provide security. Now, what was happening in point to point? We were using encryption. Here, we will use cryptography. By now, you might be aware what is that cryptography, using a public and a private key. Okay, so if that key is exchanged between the sender and the receiver, only then the data can be converted or can be decoded. If you don't have those keys, you can never decode the data, or you will never know what that data is. So the security was better over here because the key was known only to the sender and the receiver. So what was happening when I was transmitting the data between the two machines using this protocol, there were two more security which were added. What are those two security? One is the authentication header and the other is encapsulating security payload. Now, what is this authentication header? This authenticates the sender and it discovers that any changes in the data that happens during transmission. So whatever data I am going to transmit between computer 1 and computer 2, in that data I will have one more extra thing. What will that extra thing be? A authentication header. What is the function of that authentication header? It is going to disclose that who the sender is. So whenever the receiver receives a packet, it will be knowing that this was a sender who was sending me the data. Along with that, it will see to it that this data which is getting transmitted on the network does not change when it is getting transmitted. In CN, you might have come across a particular algorithm called a CRC, cyclic redundancy check. What is that cyclic redundancy check? It is calculated at a sender side as well as at the receiver side. Why this checking is done? So that the data which is being sent, it is used to verify that the same data is received or not. So we do that verification by using this algorithm. So whatever is being sent from the sender side, if my answer matches at the receiver side, which means that the data is not changed. But when I calculate that CRC and if there is a change in a data, any single bit of data also, it has been assumed that the data has been changed during the transmission. So same mechanism is used here in authentication header. What is happening when I attach the sender's detail and when I send it to the receiving machine, a receiving machine will verify whether this data is not changed during the transmission or not. If it is changed, will means what? It has been attacked by the attacker. But if it is not same and if it is received as it is, which means what? There was no attack during the transmission of the data. Okay. Next is encapsulating security payload. What is encapsulating security payload? This not only performs authentication for a sender, but it also encrypts the data that is getting sent. So here, what am I going to do is, I have already attached the sender details and I already have a data. I will encrypt this entire packet. Encrypt this entire packet means I will convert it into such a format that even if the attacker attacks, he will never come to know what the data is. That means the data will be decoded in such a language that if you do not know a specific algorithm and if you do not know those specific keys, you will never be able to retrieve the data. Okay, so this security was increased, which was not there in your point-to-point tunneling protocol. Okay, is this IP security understood to you? That means your data is getting more secured by using this cryptography technique. And how this cryptography technique is done? By adding two details or two services inside your protocol. Which are those two services? First is that the receiver knows who the sender is, and second, your data as well as that sender details are decoded in such a language that even if it is attacked by the attacker, it will never be known. But the sender and the receiver will understand because they both of them have those private keys to decrypt the data. Is this clear? Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So we have seen two types of VPN protocols. First was point-to-point tunneling protocol. Second was IPsec protocol, Internet Protocol Security. Third, we'll see remote access VPN. Now, what is the only remote access we know? If I'm not able to reach to that particular computer to take a data or to do anything in that computer, I will take a remote access, sit at my location and take the details or observe the screen of that opposite system. So same is with the remote access. What does it do? Remote access VPN permits a user to connect to a private network and access all its resources and services remotely. The connection between the user and the private network occurs through an internet, and the connection is secured and private. Why it is secured and private? Because it is VPN. Now, what is happening is, let us take one example that an employee is out at outstation. That means it is at some location where he is not able to get a good network connectivity. So what he'll do is he'll try to connect to a public's private network. Sorry, company's private network. What is that company's private network? VPN. For example, if I am an employee, I have gone to some location, say suppose Gujarat, and now I'm not able to access to internet. But since I am working with Somaya, what will I do is, and since Somaya has its own virtual private network, and as I know all the details of that virtual private network, so I will from Gujarat, since I am not getting connected to a public network, I will connect to my company's private network, which is the VPN of my network. Now what I'll do is, once I'm connected with this virtual private network, whatever services I want, I'm going to take that services from the Somaya's private network. So if I want to download any particular data which I was not able to do through Gujarat's public network, I will now do it with my virtual private network by getting connected to the Somaya Polytechnics VPN. So I will give a request that download Netflix, which I was not able to do from my Gujarat's public network. So my request, what will happen is it will get diverted towards the Somaya's VPN. Somaya VPN will download Netflix for me. Once if the Somaya Netflix is downloaded on that Somaya Polytechnics network, and I am also now connected to that network, so I will take that Netflix from that particular network. That is what is remote access. So the things which I cannot do from the public network due to any kind of restriction, I will be doing it by connecting to any virtual private network. So I wanted a resource Netflix which I was not able to download from the public network, so I downloaded on the VPN, or I downloaded by using that VPN, and from that VPN I could access it on my particular device. Okay, that is what is remote access VPN. Okay. Now next is VPN routers. Now what are VPN routers? If I do not have a direct connectivity like point to point, or if I do not have a internet protocol connectivity like IPsec, I may use routers as a particular networking devices and use a VPN concept on a router. That means the routers will not only connect a public network, but the routers can also be used to connect your virtual private network. Okay, so your virtual private network can use routers as a networking devices. It is not necessary that the routers are used only for public networks. It can be used for your private VPN network also. What duty your router will do, apart from providing an internet connectivity, it will handle all the routing duties. Routing duties means what? From where the request has come and how it has to be forwarded and where it has to be forwarded. Looking at that routing table, it is going to operate. Now you might have studied about this router in your CN. How does a router work? Your router works on a concept of routing table and a context switching of your routing table. So whenever a router is installed, at the same time a router table is also being prepared. What are the details on that router table? That if computer 1 wants some access to a computer 2, via which multiple machines that request is going to go, or via which multiple networks that request is going to go, that is maintained in the table. So from 1 it will go to 3, from 3 to 2, 2 to 6, and then it will get connected to a destination. So all these details of routing are stored in that routing table. So what is your VPN router going to do? From where the request is coming and from where it has to be transmitted will now not be looked by the VPN network, but it will be looked after by the VPN router. So the workload of your normal VPN, what is the work of your VPN? To route the net, that is to route the data as well as to provide the security. But when I'm installing this VPN router, your VPN will only do of protecting the data, work of protecting the data and encrypting the data, whereas routing will be done by this router devices. Okay, so it handles all the routing duties which are done by your networking device called as router. But all the encryption, securing of the data coming from public to private, private to public will be done by your VPN. Okay. Next and the last one is firewall based VPN. What is firewall based VPN? First of all, the function of VPN is to protect the data through this encryption and cryptography method. On top of that, if I install firewall also, which means I am double protecting the data, because what is the function of the firewall? To filter and monitor all the data which is coming from any end and going to any particular end. Okay. So many a times if I do not have this VPN, I may try to secure my data by installing firewalls also. But when I say firewall based VPN, that means there is double protection and double security of a data. One provided through firewall and the other one provided through VPN. Okay, so it is a standard technology for keeping an internet connection secure and safeguarding any sensitive data that is sent between the two machines. So it is securing the data which is transmitted from between the two machine. And how is that security done? One through firewall and one through VPN. It does this by making sure that any data that is transferred between the user and the sites or between the two systems remains impossible to read. It uses encryption algorithm to scramble the data in transit, preventing it from the hackers from reading it as it is sent from the authorized system. Authorized system means what? Encrypting algorithm to scramble the data means what? What I have done is I have a VPN. Let us assume we have two computers, one and two. Both the computers want to transmit a data very securely. So though they are in network one, but I have VPN on network two, all my traffic from one computer one to computer two will not happen via network one, but it will be transmitted or it will be diverted via network two. That is what is a function of VPN. But what I have done is along with that I have used a firewall. So at computer one end I have a firewall installed, and at a computer two end I have a firewall installed. So what is happening? When I start my request from computer one, it will be first transmitted through firewall. Firewall will filter the data, check whether that is there any attack been happening or not, or is the data being secured or not. After it has been passed from firewall security, it will go to VPN. What will VPN do? VPN will encrypt that data in some algorithm and it will decode that data. That decoded data will be again passed through the firewall which is at the computer 2 side. Now when it has reached to the firewall of computer 2 side, what will that firewall do? It will again check whether this data which was encrypted, whether it has been decrypted or is it being changed or not. So again a security check is done by the firewall at the computer 2 end. If that is being cleared, or if the security check is being cleared, then only it will be delivered at the computer 2. So what is happening from 1 to 2, there is 3 security check happening. One at the firewall 1, which is at computer 1. Second at the VPN. Third at the firewall, second firewall which is installed at the computer 2. So what am I doing this? This has been done to check whether there is no scrambling of a data. No scrambling of the data means no changing of a data is being done. So this is done or this work of checking of security is being done by the firewalls which are installed at both the computers end. Okay, and it is being encrypted by your VPN network. Is this understood? All this protocols of your VPN, point to point internet security, that is internet protocol security, remote access VPN router, and firewall based VPN. Is this clear?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So we start with the next topic, that is internal security. Now, what is internal security? That means something which is inside a system or maybe inside an organization. Now, internal security is what? Preventing the system or a network from internal threat. That means I'm going to secure my system, that is my computer or my network, from some kind of internal threats. Now, what are those internal threats? Accessing the information which they should not access. For example, if I belong to a computer department and we have a exam section in our college also. So what is that internet threat? When I am trying to access the data by going or by opening the exam section's computer, going into any one of the file and taking one of the paper and giving it to somebody else. So that is what is internal threat. When I am accessing the information which I was not supposed to access. I am supposed to access only the department data of a computer. If I'm not authorized, am I supposed to access the exam section's detail? No. Now you being a user, or sorry, you being a student, are you allowed to come inside the staff room and work with the computers which are there in the staff room? No. Why? Because you are restricted. So if you try to do that, what it will be considered as? It is considered as an internal threat. Okay, so if a person who's not authorized and tries to access that particular user, or sorry, that particular information, we consider it as a internal threat. That is user accessing. Second, user accessing other users' data. For example, if I have if I use a laptop in our department, and if some any other of the faculty, if I'm not there at my place, but if my system is on with all the logins and all the files and folders open, and if some other faculty tries to access my information, which is illegal, or he may try to access my personal data or my professional data, something like this, so that is also considered to be as a internal threat. That means a user tries to access a data of some another user, maybe that user data would be personal or maybe some professional data. Sending a mail to another person's email. If my mail is open and if I have went somewhere to do some another work, it might happen that somebody comes sit on my system, start my email, and may shoot any kind of a email or illegal mail or any kind of a mail to any other person from my mailbox. So what will that opposite person assume? That it has come from my end. But was it a person or was it me who was doing that? No, but it was done by somebody else. So that is also considered to be as a internal threat. Accessing the system to carry out any criminal activity. So that means if a system is open and if I want to perform any criminal activity, that can also be considered as an internal threat. For example, we can consider point number 3 also. My mail is open. It may happen that somebody can come sit on my system, use my mail account and send some information to principal. So what is principal going to assume? That it has done from my end. But was it done from my end? No, it is done from some another end. So if I do any such kind of criminal activity, and by using some another account or by using some other user details, that is also considered to be as a internal threat. Fifth is internal user introduces virus in the system. Suppose if I want to insert a virus in the exam section's computer, what will I do? I will take a pen drive which is full of virus. I will just go and attach that pen drive in that exam section's computer. So what will happen? I do not have to do anything with the virus. Once if it is installed, once if it is clicked, if there is any human intervention, the virus will automatically start working. So that is also considered to be as a internal threat. So what is a thing, or how can I prevent from this kind of internal threat? Is if I'm going somewhere, say suppose how did I say my system was open and I went somewhere, somebody can come access my mail, somebody can come access my personal data, somebody can come and put virus in my data, somebody can come and carry out a criminal activity. So whenever I go, I should see to it that either I shut down my system or I lock my system and go. And even if I'm locking the system, see to it that whatever password I have kept will not be shared. So if I maintain such kind of security by keeping password protection, by keeping it locked, or by keeping some any other kind of biometric kind of lock, so if I keep such security measures, I will be able to avoid this internal security, or I will be able to avoid this internal threat from which will happen inside the system. Okay, so we can prevent from these internal threats by taking or by carrying out such steps like not to go leaving the system as it is. See to it that if you go, you lock it either by password protection or by your biometric protection, or shutting down the system and then going. Many a times if you go and visit to a cyber cafe, you forget to log out. If you forget to log out, what will happen? Anybody else who is coming after you may do any criminal activity by using your email account. So if you're going somewhere, see to it that you have logged out from your email accounts. That is all you have to check, or you have to protect yourself from such kind of internal threats. Okay, using antiviruses and all will not going to help you if there is any such kind of internal threat. Only password mechanism and such precautionary measures will be help, or will be making you to avoid such kind of internal threats. Okay, next is account security. Now it is account security, managing the user's account enabled on the network. So if I am a user and if I'm using account niti@somaya.edu, if I manage this account on a network, I call it as account security. That means I'm going to secure that niti@somaya.edu secured, this account secured whenever I'm connected on the network. So what we have to do generally, we also have to keep a periodic audit of the account. Periodic audit of the account is, what does that audit means? It gives you all the history of login whatever you have accessed, when did you log out, what time did you log out, what date did you log out, so on. So when you go to and Google, or if you, when you go to any browser and if you search anything, there is one in the setting, there is one tab or there is one option called as history. What is that history? That history is nothing but the audit. What is that history telling you? At this particular time, the person has been logged in into a website called as google.com. Then at the 11:26 he has logged in into some information for searching like what is VPN. At 12 o'clock he has logged in into Facebook. At 12:30 he has logged in into Instagram. So what is that history? It is nothing but the audit. So what I do is whenever I access to this account, I will maintain a history and I will periodically check that particular history with respect to account. So it not be only one account in the system. There may be multiple accounts on multiple systems on multiple networks. So what I have to do is if I want to manage this account security, I have to keep a check of every system, whatever accounts are logged in into that system, and what are the accounts which are there on the network by using that particular system. Okay. Then I have to see to it that if I've created any guest or test account, I will remove it after the work is done. In Linux operating system, many a times a guest account is created. For if you're not a normal user or if you do not have a normal user account and if you neither have an admin rights, we create a user as a guest user. So whenever we create such kind of guest user, see to it that after that work is done, you remove those unnecessary accounts, because many a times for guest user we have a password which is same. So if I know that password, I can log in into that guest account and do whatever things I want with that system as well as with the network. So if I've created such account, see to it that either you change the password of the account or if you remove the account if it is no longer being used. Rename the administrative accounts. See, this is also one of the way or a precautionary measure to avoid any kind of threats from the to the system. So if many a times a user for admin, the username is admin and password is also admin, or it may be admin123 or admin at the rate 123. So what do we do is if we change a name from admin to say suppose any other name, so it becomes a difficult for an attacker to understand that whether this is a normal user account or whether it is an admin user account. But if I keep a name as admin or a root, attacker is that smart that he'll understand कि admin मतलब admin right वाला account है, root मतलब admin right वाला account है. So we have to keep a name such that a attacker should get confused whether this account is a guest account or a test account or a normal user account or a admin account. You should know how to remove the access to the resources which are allocated to the user. Now when we are on the network, what do? Is we share the resources. So if I am sharing a resource from my computer over a network, so once if I have connected to a network, all the threats are going to happen. So if I want to protect, what will I do is once if I have allocated a resource to any particular user, and if the work of that user with that particular resource is being done, I should see to it that I remove the access of that resource from that particular user account. Because if I do not remove the access, it might happen that if somebody else is getting connected to that user account, that user might be able to access the resource which the same person was using. So I may not be aware. I may be aware that only Peter is using, but if a Bob accesses the Peter's account, he might use the resource which a Peter was using. But what do I know is I have shared only to the Peter, but Peter is now further sharing it to Bob also and somebody else also. So once if the work of the resource with respect to Peter is being completed, I should see to it that access is being removed. So whenever if somebody else want, they have to first request me. So whenever they request me, I come to know that from where they are requesting, who is requesting, for what time, how much time they want, all the details come to me. So these are the things which you have to keep in mind with respect to your account, if that account is logged in into the system and if it is on the network. Okay. Next is password. What is password? It is used to protect the data or the system, for any data or any system which is on the network. So how do you do this? First of all, you do not share it. Even if you have shared, what do you do after you have shared it? See to it that you change it. Okay. Now what should be the normal time of changing the password? 90 to 180 days. Now what is happening? This is not necessary that 90 to 180 days में ही change करना चाहिए, उसके पहले या उसके बाद नहीं कर सकते. If you want, you change any time. If you feel that today I have shared it with you, I might change at a very next moment after your work is done. So there's no specific time, but in general, you should keep on changing after every 90 to 180 days. You should see to it that you do not reuse that password. That is what is called as reuse policy. If suppose today I have kept a password as LAN123, so I should see to it that once if I've shared this LAN123 to you, I do not use it for a longer period of time, or I should never use it only because why? It has already once shared with you. So tomorrow, if you want to come and attack my computer system, so you may try the first password as LAN123. Why? Because assuming that इसने change नहीं किया होगा, या फिर second, even if it might have been changed, she might have kept it again also. So using this concept, you should not reuse the password whichever you have kept. Password should be at least of 8 character long. So this depends from a user to user or from a particular site to another site. Many of them allow you 8 character, many of them allows less than 8 character also, including special characters, one uppercase, one lowercase, and the combination of alpha numbers and alphabets, everything. Okay, so your password in short should be strong by including 8 characters, uppercase, lowercase, special characters, alphanumeric, both. Okay. Enable the policy that monitors the wrong password. Now, many a times, if you make a setting in your database through a coding, every time you input the wrong password, it captures all the wrong passwords. So, what is happening if I am an attacker and if I try to attack your system, which is password protected, every password which I try to input, it is going to capture all that password. So I might use this technique once if I know that attacker tries admin123, admin678 or something, LAN admin or admin LAN, something like this. So all these password I have captured. So when if I am a normal user now, and if I want to set a password, and if I have captured all the trials of the attacker, I will see to it that I will keep the password which doesn't matches with the trial of that attacker which the attacker has used. So I have to include such type of settings into my computer system, which will keep a record of every password that is being keyed in by the user. Okay. Then next is file and directory permission. Now we all know this. What are the files and directory permissions? Create only, read write, execute, change, full control. Create only means what? That if I give this permission to you, you will be only allowed to create. If I give you a write as read only means the person is only allowed to read the data. If I give you a write as change means you are allowed to write, read, delete, create, modify, every changes is being given. When I give you only change. When I say change read means what? You are allowed only to, change write, which means you are allowed only to do the changes by writing something. Change delete means what? You are allowed only to delete that particular file. Okay. When I say full control, who is generally having this full control? Whomsoever is the owner of a particular file. So if I have created a file, I will have full control. But when I share it with you, I may give you create, read, write, execute, some of these permissions. But the one who has created has a full control, that is the owner. Okay. Those are different. I can give these permissions to files as well as the permissions to directories. The next is practices and user education. What is practices and user education? Make a manual containing security related procedure. Give a orientation to new employees. Signing in the guidelines. Audit of security actions. What am I doing by all this is I am preparing a particular employee from all such kind of threats. That means I'm inculcating some kind of practice and some kind of education to a user in order to prevent from such kind of threats. First is what? I will make a manual in which I will write that if you want to secure your system, see to it that you change the password from every 90 to 180 days. You make a reuse system password. Do not make use of reuse password policy system. See to it that you do not share your password. Your password should be 8 character long. So whatever threat details are there, to prevent from all those threats, I will create a manual. So if you are a new employee joining, I will first give you that manual, you read that manual, and then you inculcate that practice into you. Okay. Give an orientation to a new employee. Orientation means make an employee understand from your past experience. So if I am hiring a person under me So whatever has happened with me or whatever threats have happened with me, I will make that person aware, that you see to it that you do not come across same type of attack which had happened to me. So I'm going to orient him with all those has happened with me or with my organization. Okay. Signing the guidelines. Signing the guidelines means what? I have to tell to him that since you are an internal person of an organization, you should not be playing with any kind of internal data in the system. So whatever internal threats we have studied here, I will write each and every threats that you are not allowed to access information from any other computer. You are not allowed to send the email ID, email to any other person from any other's email address. All these internal threats, I will write it and I will make him sign, so that tomorrow if anything happens, as he has signed, so he will be whole and sole responsible for any such internal threats which has happened with respect to him or with respect to any of his accounts. Okay. Audit of security action. Audit of security action means see to it that whenever any action with respect to any user or any account of that user on the network is being happened, audit of every details should be taken. So this all is considered under practices and user education for making a person aware about what can be the internal and external threats with respect to data once that data is on the network or with the computer once that computer is connected on the network. Okay, is this understood up till here?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Okay. Now, next we have seen the internal threats, we have seen account security. Now we'll be seeing what are external threats. External means not happened by someone from the organization or from the person who has known. It may be from somewhere who is outside. Okay, both can be considered, the internal also as well as external also. Now we have three types of external threats: front door, back door, and DOS. DOS is denial of service. Now let us see what is front door threat. Someone from outside the company try to access to the user account. Someone from outside the company, which means what? If I was working with Somaya, tomorrow I might leave Somaya. If I say go to VJTI, but do I know every detail of Somaya? Yes, I know everything of computer department because I'm working there since 9 years. I know everything of exam section because I also work with exam section. I even know every detail of the system which is there in the principal madam's cabin because I have accessed that also. So now since I have left Somaya and now I am into VJTI, but if somebody tells me that if you want to attack the Somaya system, can they use me as a medium? Yes. Why? Because I know everything of the Somaya. So I am considered to be as a front door threat for a Somaya organization. Why? Because right now I am someone from outside the company who's trying to access the user account. How can I do this? Because I know every detail of that particular user account. So I am considered to be as a terminated employee of Somaya. But since I know every detail of every user account of Somaya, I can be a threat to a Somaya organization. Okay. So someone who always try to make password, always try to make a password means ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा what do I know is either I will know a correct password of that system. Exam ka suppose password is exam 123. So I will be knowing this exact password, or I might be knowing that what password they can keep. KJSP exam, exam KJSP, KJSP exam at the rate 123. I will be knowing the combinations of the password. So what will I do is I will try to make the password. First, I will try to put the exact password which I know. If it is not getting logged in, I also know what are the different combinations which they can make. I will also make such kind of combinations and then try to key in any one of it and try to enter inside the system. So insiders or the ex-employee have advantages over the hacker. So what is that front door threats? It may be somebody who is insider, or it may be a ex-employee who is trying to take the advantage of being a hacker and hacking the entire system of that particular organization. So what do I do if I want to prevent from such a front door attack is see to it that you keep resources separate which are accessed through LAN. So what will I do is now since I know every detail of exam section, if I until and unless I do not have a network connectivity, will I be able to go and access that exam section server or exam section data? No. So if I will have what protection or what precaution a Somaya can take is see to it that such resources like a exam system, the computer is not connected on the LAN. So every time you go and check our exam section is never connected on the LAN. Why it is never connected on the LAN? Because of such kind of threats or any other kind of threats, maybe internal or external. So whatever important data you have, see to it that you do not keep it on the LAN, because if I as a outside attacker or a front door type of attacker tries to access, if there is nothing on a LAN, you can never access it. Okay, control which user can access the LAN from outside the network. So even if I am putting that resources on the network, I should see to it that I should control that who users can access on the LAN and which are the users who are restricted from that LAN. So even if अभी exam section का कोई तो एक server network पे है, but if I'm not the actual person or if I do not have that account rights, even if I try, I won't be able to get that access. Why? Because there are only specific list of user who can try to access that exam section server through the LAN. So if I'm not in that list of authorized user, I won't be able to access. Okay, set up remote access for some users and make such accounts more restrictive than the normal accounts. So even if you're trying to put it on the remote access, see to it that you give such kind of security which is little higher as compared to the normal accounts security. That means I can have that firewall settings, VPN setting, password protection, encryption, cryptography, whatever I know, I will put everything onto that remote access to protect my data, which I may not keep on the normal accounts. Okay. Then what is the next one? Disable the password for the ex-employee. Disable the password means what did I say? Now I have left and I've joined BJTI. So what will I do is, since I have worked with exam section, I know the password. So what is the first duty of exam section? To change the password. Okay. Second, if they have not changed the password, or suppose if they have changed the password, I might try to use my ID and password to enter inside the system, because if we use that SVV net ID, we can log in into any of the system that even you are aware of. If my SVV net ID is Niti and password is also Niti, so you know that you can at least enter into the system with your user ID and password. So what will I do is I will put your name into a disable account list. So when I disable your account, even if I try to access with my SVV net ID, I won't be able to access the system. Why? Because now you are the ex-employee. Now you are no longer belonging to that organization. So your account has been disabled for accessing any contents with respect to that particular organization or any resources with respect to that particular organization. This doesn't mean that I won't be able to access my Gmail. I can use my Gmail, but I won't be allowed to access any system by using this ID and the password. Okay. So these are the protections that you have to take from the front door attack. So front door attack may be a person who is insider, have joined hands with the hacker, or it may be some ex-employee who knows everything about the organization. Next is the backdoor attack. Now what is backdoor attack? A backdoor is a means to access a computer system or encrypted data that bypasses the system's customary security mechanism. That means what? I know the system, I know the security of that system, I have learned entire security, I have also learned how to crack that security, and now since I know how to crack that, I'm going to attack the system. That is what is a backdoor attack. I will first study the entire system, I will study how it has been secured, and then I will try to work in such a way that I can crack that security and enter inside the system. So developer may create a backdoor so that an application or operating system can be accessed for troubleshooting or any other purpose. So what is happening? I have developed a system. I have created an operating system. As a developer, I have designed the operating system. So what will attacker do now? The attacker will try to study that entire operating system and it will try to find out some minute hole in that operating system which will give an entry inside the system to attack the entire system. So if I have developed something, for example, if I have developed an application called as calculator, and now this calculator is there on the Play Store and it is being used by multiple users. So what as an attacker I will do is I will first study the entire calculator application which XYZ person has developed. I will try to find out such a loophole which will give me an entry, and once I have got that entry, I will write or I might change that application code by inserting some virus or any other kind of attack. I will create an update of it, and once if every user has updated, I have attacked every system who is using that particular calculator. That means what I am doing is I am not attacking SAC SAB. I am understanding the system. I am finding a breach into that system. I am making some changes into that breach, and then I am making an attack. That means an attack is planned. Therefore, it is called as backdoor attack. Backdoor attack means I am studying, I am finding a hole into it, and then I am entering into it. Okay, that is what is backdoor attack. Whereas in internal threats and all, I do not have to study anything. I just have to remember few things, or I just have to shake hands with some attacker or something like this and enter inside the system. Whereas if it is a backdoor attacker has to do a deep study about the system and then enter inside the system. Okay. How do you prevent it? You prevent it from some kind of anti-malware, some kind of tools, or some kind of firewalls. So attacking an application or understanding the application and security of the application is much more easy, but it is very difficult for an attacker to understand the security measures of the firewall. या फिर फायरवॉल पे क्या टाइप का सिक्योरिटी है, हाउ टू ब्रेक दैट सिक्योरिटी ऑफ अ फायरवॉल. स्टडिंग दिस पार्ट इज वेरी डिफिकल्ट फॉर अ hacker as compared to studying the security part of a application. Now there are many tools such as rootkit. One of the tool name is called as rootkit. Now what is that function of the rootkit? It is a software. I will install that software. What will that software do? If there is any kind of attacker, or if any kind of software code which has entered into my system and who is playing with my system, that rootkit will identify that particular application in which that code has been entered. So suppose if I have downloaded an email which had a virus, and if I do not know, what will that rootkit do? A rootkit will generate a message, or it will keep a record that due to the download of an email dated on 15th October, coming from my account called as xyz@gmail.com, a virus had also entered. Okay, so it will make some log like this. So who is going to make that log? A rootkit which I have installed, or a rootkit tool which I have installed. So if I install such kind of tools, it will immediately identify what are the different kinds of breaches or the attack or a security attack which is going to happen inside your computer system. Okay. So this is how you can prevent. If I install that rootkit, I can prevent from any kind of backdoor attack or any kind of other viruses, worms, or Trojan horse kind of attacks into my system. Okay. Now next is DOS. Is this understood up till here? Front door and back door.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What is next? DOS. What is DOS? Denial of service. Now, as the name says, denial of service means I am requesting for some service, but I would be denied. Therefore, it is called as denial of service attack. Now, this is an attack. Means what? Who is going to do this attack? It will be done by the attacker. So, computer 1 and computer 2 are communicating, but this denial of service attack is being generated by the hacker. So, what will happen when this attack is being generated? The computer who is requesting for the services will never be able to request each other. Even if they have requested, they will never get the response, because what do? What will this attacker do? It will flood the network with the traffic, and once if the network is flooded with the traffic, आप कितनी बार भी request करो, your request will not be reached appropriately at the specific time. Now what is happening when I'm going on the road? If there is a traffic, 1 घंटे का रास्ता रहेगा तो भी it might take 2 to 3 hours. Why? Because of that traffic. So same thing is happening. What is attacker doing? Attacker is also giving unwanted requests on the same network, because of which the authenticated request which was sent from computer 1 does not reach to computer 2. Or even if it has a request, it will try to block the response by again giving unwanted queries, and because of which the response will never reach on time to the computer 1. So that is what is denial of service. So how it is denying? It is denying by loading the or by putting the traffic on the network. This attack means to shut down a machine or a network. And this attacker ये कब तक करेगा? जब तक पूरा नेटवर्क डाउन नहीं हो जाता तब तक, या फिर जब तक कंप्यूटर 1 जिसने रिक्वेस्ट किया है उसका मशीन खराब नहीं हो जाता तब तक. Okay. So attack mean to shut down. Shut down means shut down a machine, which is computer 1 in our example, and the network which is between computer 1 and computer 2, making it inaccessible to its intended user. So computer 1 is intended and authorized user. for sending and accepting the request and the responses. But because of this attack, उसका machine इतना slow हो गया, इतना खराब हो गया, या फिर network इतना चला गया कि he is not able to request for the query that the person wants. So denial of service attack accomplishes this by flooding the target with the traffic. What it will do, traffic means attacker will send unwanted requests. Google.com, Yahoo.com, Facebook.com. He'll keep on putting the request. Okay, because of which what is happening, intended user is not able to get its own request, or sending it information that triggers a crash. So what is this sending? Flooding a target with a traffic is on the network, or sending the information that triggers a crash. What will I do? I will keep on, attacker will keep on sending the information to computer 1. What is computer 1 assuming? That the data is coming from the server. But is it coming from the server? No, it is coming from the attacker. So I will keep on sending multiple files and folders to the computer 1, and because of which the computer 1's machine will slow down. So either I will send unwanted data to computer, or I will send unwanted data on the traffic, because of which he will not able to send anything on the network, neither he will be able to work on its own machine. In both the instances, the denial of service attack deprives legitimate user. Legitimate user means authorized user. In both the cases, network maybe he is affecting the legitimate user, and machine maybe is affecting the legitimate user. That is employee, members, or account holders. Can be anything. Employee of an organization, or it may be private networks, user of a private network, or a user of a public network. He can affect that. A DOS can attack anyone on the network. In both the instance, the DOS attack deprives the legitimate users of the services and the resource they are expected. So computer 1 had sent a request for the resource, or had sent a request for any of the service to computer 1, but beach mein this attacker introduced DOS, that is denial of service attack, because of which computer 2 is not able to send the service, neither he is able to send any kind of resource to computer 1. So the basic type of DOS includes flooding the network to prevent the authorized user from the unaccessing of the network traffic. Flooding means unwanted request attacker खुद ही डालते रहेगा network पे, because of which जो authenticate request है coming from computer end will never be reached to the computer 2. Disrupting the connection between two machines, thus preventing the access to the service. So अगर request पहुंच भी गया है computer 1 से computer 2 को, but now if a computer 2 is try to sending the response, again the attacker is attacking the network or the making unwanted traffic, so that the response doesn't reach to the computer 1. So same can be done at the request side also, and the same can be done at the response side also. Preventing a particular individual from accessing the सर्विस. तो मतलब मेन काम क्या है डिनाइल ऑफ सर्विस अटैक का या फिर अटैकर का, कि कैसे भी करके द सर्विस रिक्वेस्ट शुड नॉट गो टू द डेस्टिनेशन, और नाइदर द रिस्पॉन्स शुड कम बैक टू द मशीन. कैसे भी करके यू स्टॉप द रिक्वेस्ट एंड स्टॉप द रिस्पॉन्स. Disrupting a service to a specific system or an individual. So it may be number of systems, or it may be a particular individual users on the network. Disrupting the state of information, such as resetting the TCP session. Either it will flood it with the network, or it will keep on sending unwanted files to the computer system, or what it will do is it will keep on resetting the TCP session. Resetting the TCP session means it will try to cut the network sessions. Try to cut the network session means it will ask the original sender 1, that is computer 1, to again and again reconnect to the network. So what will this computer 1 do? Disconnect करके वापस try to connect, again disconnect, try to connect, again disconnect, try to connect. So by doing this also, it can avoid the user from taking the appropriate service from the network. So there are three things which a denial of service can do. Either make a user go mad by doing connection, disconnection, connection, disconnection again. Yeah, what second thing, attacker will only keep on requesting the data on the network, which will create a traffic. Third is it will identify who is the sender and keep on sending random files to that particular machine and make the system down. So that is what is denial of service. So what is happening? Computer 1 has asked for service to computer 2, but that service is denied. Why it has been denied? Because attacker has loaded the network with the traffic. Second, he is asking the main sender to connect and reconnect again and again. Third, he is continuously sending unwanted files, because of which the machine of the computer from which the request was sent has now been slowed down. Okay, therefore it has denied the services in three ways. That is what is called as denial of service attack. Okay, is this understood up till here? Internal, external, and denial of service.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, everybody, girls.
Yes,
Yes or
ma'am.
okay. So with this, we have completed with the sixth lesson, that is network connection, directory services, and remote access. SSL VPN is secured socket layer. SSL stands for secure socket layer. That means it is going to provide you a security by using a same encryption method on all the layers of your OSI. Okay, that is what is SSL, secure socket layer. It is going to check a security on each and every layer by providing the encryption from every layer of a data which is passed, right from application to physical, physical to application. हर एक layer पे security रहेगा. That you can consider as more advanced as compared to your IP security. IP security does not provide you layer to layer security. It provides only security from which your source and the destination machine is directly connected. That means you can consider it as a physical layer ka connection, but not the all seven layers. Whereas SSL provides you on all the layers. Okay. So tomorrow, I think your lecture is at 2 to 3, na? Anybody can check the timetable. Okay, I have. It is from 1 to 2 and 2 to 3. Have your SE lecture started?
No, ma'am.
No.
I cannot hear you. Sanskar, SE lecture
No, ma'am.
नहीं हुआ है ना? ठीक है. So we'll do one thing tomorrow at 11:30. हाँ, tomorrow at 11:30 I will start with 7th lesson, and at 12:30 we will take a test on 6th lesson. Okay? So tomorrow we'll meet at 11:30. If you get any message of SE lecture today, so you please send me the message. So we'll keep as per timetable. But if you do not have SE lecture, we'll have 7th lesson starting at 11:30, followed by that test on 6th lesson at 12:30. Okay?
Okay.
Meet
Yes, ma'am.
Nikunj, Chris,
Present, ma'am.
Yash,
Present, ma'am.
Shivam, Darshil, Paris,
Present, ma'am.
Harsh,
Present, ma'am.
Parva, Parva,
Present, ma'am.
Atharva,
Present, ma'am.
Sakshi,
Present, ma'am.
Palak,
Present, ma'am.
Shubh,
Present, ma'am.
Omkar,
Present, ma'am.
Tejasvi,
Present, ma'am.
Om, Amol, Amol is there, just left. Abdul, Jeet, Yash,
Present, ma'am.